Good afternoon, everyone. It's another My Music with Graham Coath. In a minute, I'm going to be speaking to Mic Jogwer, and we'll come back straight after this.
I need to get going, Mel. See you later.
Hey, thanks for joining me. Did I pronounce your surname correctly, sir?
Yes, Jogwer. Yeah, that's fine. It's a kind of German name without meaning, actually.
Yeah, and I don't know whether you saw the poster that I produced for this afternoon. It had a picture of you playing live in the middle of it, and then on the one hand I was pink, and as the picture moved towards the other side, and there was another version of me that was blue.
Cool.
Yeah, so and to obviously represent the band Pink Turns Blue. What just start there, what inspired the name?
It's a song by Hospidu, which is called When Pink Turns to Blue. And I was a big fan of that band in the 80s, and I was a big fan of that song because it was so romantic and sad and kind of everything actually I expected from life. And I like the idea of, having your dreams, having your vision, being on the bright side of life, and then suddenly everything disappears and you have to get an idea what to do next, really.
Yeah. Have you continued to follow Bob Mould's music as he's
kind of. I lost it after a while. So in the beginning, yes, I went to some of his solo shows, but they became less strong after a while. I think he had a drug problem or something, and I'm not, as a fan. It's if you have your heroes, it's sometimes weird if you watch them having a bad face, I would say.
Yeah. No, I do. Yeah, I mean, several artists go through a phase where it's potentially weaker, or the material's weaker, or they have health problems or something, and it's a struggle sometimes, and you want to stick with them as well. You want to kind of continue and support them, but at the same time, people go to see music because they want to lose themselves in it, and it's not. So it's.
I think if the personal situation becomes stronger than the music, if you really, if you see the problems more than the art, it becomes difficult. I find it feels like like being with a sick person and you can't do anything about it. So
yeah. So where did music start for you? What sort of where did you grow up in a musical house?
No, not at all. No. I actually come from a very small village, and I started as a trumpeter in a very small, like this marching band.
Yeah.
Years, and I had some musical talent. And but I joined a big band, like a jazz big band, as a trumpeter, and I fell in love with the bass guitar very soon. There was a bass player, so I wanted to change to bass, and I changed to bass actually, and entered bands as a bass player, studied even bass, double bass, jazz bass, and everything. I always wanted to become a part of a band as a bass player. But with like about 16 or 18, I started to realize that I'm quite a good songwriter as well. And it was not normal for a bass player to be a songwriter and a singer, really. It happened, but not very often.
Yeah.
And with Pink Turns Blue, we had a really great guitarist. I loved him. I fell in love with his style of playing, which was really like self-taught, delay type, The Sound, Chameleons, very British post-punk sound. And but after a while, he left the band actually, and so I had to switch from bass to guitar. And funnily enough, after 3 months, I wasn't even able to play guitar. We got a record contract
Right.
because the songs were very special, and even the
Yeah.
guitar playing was not good at all. Actually, it was kind of weird, and maybe it was fragile, and just people liked it very much. It was like these 80s. You didn't go to band to see kind of all these kind of really good musicians. You went to see something authentic, something you would think you could do yourself, really.
Yeah.
So it started to relate to people who weren't really good musicians, but
You had to have an empathy
yourself.
with it. Yeah. You had to feel that it was relationable to you. Yeah, no, that's important. You said in there that, because that was very abridged, your little life in music getting to that stage. But you said that you discovered that you could write songs. How did you discover that you could write songs? What led you to that process?
I was part of a band who did songs of Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix, all that stuff. You know, it was a kind of blues rock something band in the village, and I just wanted to write my own songs, and although I didn't like them very much, everybody else did, and that was a bit. Normally, as if you kind of grow up in a village in a small band, people rather like you to play Rolling Stones hits than your own stuff.
Yeah.
But with our band, it was the other way around. Really, people rather listen to me singing. I couldn't sing at all. Rather listen to me singing in English, bad English as well, and but they kind of they liked to listen to it, and so we had more and more of my songs, and after a while, my songwriting improved. And I applied for this a job with Pink Turns Blue, and I entered there with half of the set were my songs already. So me singing. So that was a bit like I never wanted to be a singer actually, but everybody else wanted.
This is what happens with a lot of musicians. They have the same situation. Yeah, they never wanted to be necessarily one thing, but that process where you felt that you needed to get something that was inside of you out. Yeah, I mean, what were there things going on in your life that you particularly wrote about then that you wanted to say to the world?
Yeah, apparently, funnily enough, in my school days, I was more the shy and quiet type. And all the girls said, "Oh, this guy's not feeling anything. He's not saying anything. There's just this thing sitting there or standing there."
Yeah, you were observing.
At the same time, I had two teachers who, when people were kind of ridiculing me, saying, "Oh, this guy's thinking things you never will be thinking in your life." So they had, I mean, they actually won't just flatter me, or help me or something, but they, and I was thinking a lot about a lot of things, and I had more like my parents were not at home very often, working hard, so I was sitting at home myself, learning bass, making music, and just wrote books full of funny stuff with funny theories about science, life, and everything, and I just did it actually. As I said, I never wanted to be a front man or anything. I just wanted to be a bass player in the background. But everybody else was saying, "Okay, go on, just do it."
And what was it like when you then finally found other people to play with you that kind of understood it? Or did you have to explain it to them?
No. Actually, no. As I said, the good thing was really like I wrote a few songs, and I thought, I kind of liked them, like the harmonies and the lyrics were okay. But others really enjoyed playing those songs with me, and we did a few shows all over Germany in the beginning, and people just liked listening to the songs. It was in the early phases in Germany. We didn't have many bands singing English and doing this guitar post-punk sound, really. At that time in Germany, it was very popular to sing German and have those chart type of new wave songs, really funny and entertaining, with rhyming and everything. And so we were kind of a band which was odd, which was just odd. But we had a small group of people being very fond of it. So
what was it to begin with? Was it actually quite a social thing as well? There was a group of people that gravitated to it. Was there a social element to the music as well for you?
No, not really. No, it was more like really they stood there amazed. Funny enough, So
Right.
I had a certain type of moving, singing, and playing, which was ridiculous in a way, I found. And those people were standing there gaping and thinking, that reminded them of, let's say, The Sound, The Cure, really big bands. We were really crappy small band, but they were standing there and listening. There were funny songs, like there were slow songs, sad songs, atmospheric songs. Normally, when we played clubs, there were a punk rock band, really fast, upspeed, going there, entertaining, everything. I was just standing there in myself, singing, playing. It's slow, very atmospheric, very slow.
But people obviously found some form of release in that.
I think so, yes. So they definitely could relate to it, and for that, it was for sure. Then it was different from all the other bands at those nights,
and that helped you stand out. Absolutely.
Yes.
What were you listening to back then? Were you listening to a lot of music yourself?
Yes, but funny enough, I was listening to one of my favorite bands, apart from Husker Du, which was a fast band.
Yeah.
Was Jesus and Mary Chain. I love them. Yeah. Completely different from my style, but I adored them.
Yeah.
Because kind of made this new, fresh, very bold sound. It was out of my reach, basically.
Yeah.
My Bloody Valentine, same thing in a way. Very atmospheric, very intense. They could make sound in a way I was never able to. Yeah.
Right.
So actually, because although the Pink Turns Blue sound it's probably rather relating to the sound Chameleons, The Cure, Killing Joke, like a generation before us. When Pink Turns Blue became famous in Germany or popular in Germany or more successful in Germany, we had those bands like in England, like Jesus and Mary Chain, My Bloody Valentine, those shoegazing type of. So Germany was always 5 to 6 years behind, maybe sometimes 10 years even. So those were my heroes. But when I wrote my songs, I think it reminded more people of the Sound and the Chameleons.
Yeah. Did you kind of develop your guitar style by accident, or was it? Or did you really put effort into learning your guitar style?
The most important thing really was I had to copy our original guitarist.
Right.
Because he was a talent, really. He played delay guitar rather like U2 than other bands. Very much, a lot of delay, a lot of guitars, more sound. But that was his style, and he was really good at it. And because he left the band and we had about 12 songs, I had to learn his guitar. I had to copy it, and he was a nice guy. He showed me all the chords, so I had to learn the chords and his style. So in the beginning, I copied his style for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I owe him a lot. And on the first record, he even is on 4 or 5 songs, on the first recordings. So I had to copy his style and develop it from there. Really.
Yeah. Once you kind of mastered that style, then did that then have an impact on how you wrote yourself?
Yes. So actually, because actually, as I said, originally I'm a bass player. I play with 3 fingers only. I only play 2 strings at the same time. So my guitar playing is very limited in a way, especially on the left hand. But I learned to create an atmosphere. So that's Painter's Blue. It's easy songs, really, from chord progression, changes, everything. It's very easy songs, really repetitive and things like that. But you have to get the vibe right. It needs to be, it's this kind of certain melancholic, sad sound with a bit of drive to it, a very special chord progression and things like that. So, but I'm stuck there, really. So sometimes I have a new invention, which is very small. Yeah. And I try on every record. I try to develop a bit, to not to copy myself.
Yeah.
That's boring. Yeah. So I try to find new chords, but normally I find new chords on the piano rather than on the guitar.
Do you know what? I find the same. But do you know what? The only thing that I found helps in terms of changing with the guitar, but it's an expensive habit, is when you buy a new guitar.
Yeah.
You find the same? You buy a new guitar and you're suddenly the change in the way that your hand works in it, suddenly you find something different to add to it.
That's true. Yeah.
But it's an expensive, as I say, or it's an expensive habit. Do you experiment much in terms of pedals or anything like that to try and get?
Actually, no. I'm just using up to 5 sounds, but usually the same sound on 80% of all the songs, which is I'm using a box, I'm using a bit of reverb, a bit of chorus, sometimes a bit of delay, but so just to give it a bit of room, but the rest I do with the fingers, really. And to come up with new ideas, I think, what I find quite interesting, especially on the latest record, is that I record 2 or 3 guitars. That helps. So I can play 1 finger on one track, another 1 finger on the other track, and the 3rd finger on the 3rd track.
Yeah.
And I like the change, the progression there. I couldn't do it with my fingers, but I can do it with multi-track recording. And then afterwards, when the song is finished and recorded, I have to learn how to play it simultaneously.
Yeah.
And that creates new chord ideas as well.
And you've got that lovely, which is a joy when everyone learns that on the guitar. Learning how to dampen the strings so that they don't ring out with the hand. You must have learned that was so. When did you learn that?
Actually, I learned that as a bass player already.
To stop the bass strings from ringing out.
Because as I said, I'm a studied bass player. So when I was young, I learned bass for 8 hours a day. Because from a village, that was the biggest thing to achieve, to be able to study bass. And I studied jazz. So I'm a really good E bass player and a double bass player. Yeah. And so you play 3 fingers and you stop every string. You have to control the bass to make it really be really good with the vocals and the guitars. It needs to be in time and accompany. And so actually I kind of play a mixture of bass and guitar at the same time.
Yeah, so that sound does come across in your playing. So that history comes across in your playing, which is good. There's the control in there, which is great. But it's not everybody can do that, you know. And in terms of the new piece of work that you've got out, so You Still Mean Too Much to Me. That's quite a sentiment. Who's it about?
That's a good question. I think it's. I think it's the answer to does love ever end, really. So I had a few girlfriends all the time, right? Some I split up with, some of them split up with me, and very often I do remember them.
Yeah,
because they're part of my life, really. And there is especially if I'm.
So it's this concept that you take something of every relationship you've been through with you.
Yeah. So usually I'm not writing about my current wife, not at all, because I'm happily married. You know, even if we have a fight or something, that doesn't matter. It's more really like sentiments I had when I lost someone. It could be a dear friend as well, really. It's also like, you know, if you probably know that if you meet an old friend, it's funny, you know. So you had a time where you spent a lot of time together, or went through a lot of many adventures, and then you meet again, and suddenly it feels weird. You don't know what to talk about, but at the same time, there's this strong connection in a way, you know.
Because you've shared all of that history. You and quite often, if it was an intense relationship of, as you say, that not necessarily a love relationship, etc. But if it in that sense, but if it was an intense relationship, even if it was for a year or so, or whatever, then for that period of your life, that, you know, everything you did with that person, or a lot of things that you would have done were with that person, or with that person close to you in some respects. So yeah, you know, and it is odd, isn't it, when you then sort of move on and then suddenly remember that person again. It's strange.
So not many songs are really about exact persons. It's more really like especially this song, You Still Mean Too Much to Me. It's a chord progression, and it's the vocals I usually develop without any lyrics at all, you know. And once you reach a certain intensity, there are not many things you can sing about with this kind of tune.
No.
You can't, you know, if it's a really sad, crying out loud chorus in the end, you know, what can it be? It can only be lost love in the end. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
So,
what can you tell us? What sort of other things are you writing about at the moment, or is that hush?
No. So basically, it's always about love. It's always about trying to cope with life. It's always about trying to find any meaning in life.
Yeah.
It's always about having difficulties to understand how humanity works.
Okay, well, given all of those things are the premises for your songs, do you feel that there's an element of, not blatantly, but an element about this pandemic, etc., that has crept into the current work?
I think the pandemic made it all visible to us, like the vulnerability, and we all had to make a decision, you know, especially as musicians, you know, because we lost our jobs for a year and a half at least, you know, and you had to make a decision. Are you trying to be responsible for people who have a bad health condition, who are elderly, you know, don't feel strong and careless and rock and roll, but need some Yeah? Or are you more the type of saying, okay, this is natural selection, everybody who doesn't make it now, it's just kind of a flu, just maybe a bit stronger, and everybody who is bad luck, being either unhealthy, elderly, or living in a poor country, tough luck.
Yeah.
You really could see those two positions appearing on the news every night in a way. And
I mean, was it over here? I don't know what it was like in Berlin, but over here, it was a funny emotional roller coaster, really, in terms of there was certainly this bit within our first lockdown where there was a lot of solidarity, a lot of people coming together, a lot of people, finding humanity again, if you like. And then the tide started to change a little bit, and factions grew, and you could start to see factions growing as things. Was it similar in Berlin?
Yeah. Especially between the countries in Germany, really, like you've got Bavaria, really strict, Saxony, really careless. And at the same time, I think that all the governments they had a difficult, or maybe even made a lousy job in trying to guide us through it. So everything becomes more and more complicated. It's not more like, okay, everybody has been waiting for vaccination or not. So everyone who believed in this seriousness of this disease, thought, okay, the only thing that can help us is the vaccination. Then vaccination arrived, and still there's no perspective. And then you start to doubt, and everybody starts to doubt because you don't have any perspective. And I think that's on who to trust, So everything became more and more difficult, really. And I find that's when you were asking about the songs, I found two things. One, many groups of people, but two groups of people kind of for me stood out. One is trying to make the best, try to show the best of themselves, try to shed hope, try to work around it, try to be creative, write a new album, whatever, and others, just slagging off the government, slagging off everybody, being fed up.
Yeah, definitely.
Saying, okay, I hate everybody. I don't trust anybody. Blah blah blah. I want my money. I want my job. I don't care about all the rest. That kind of became stronger, and I enjoyed very much so, especially young people who, at the same time, like everywhere in the world, fought for justice, equality, Friday for Future, trying to take responsibility of the future and this world, So and that makes me both sad on one side, other side, really kind of hopeful on the other side. So there seems to be some power, and there seems to be a bit more awareness that you have to make a decision about your life and what you want to make out of it, and to get going, really.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And that's why I also wrote songs like "There Must Be So Much More" or "So Why Not Save the World."
Yeah,
there's no reason to do that, but why not?
Yeah. So in fact, actually, it's quite an optimistic record that you've made.
It is, yes. Yeah. And it always, Pictures 2 always has been both, like sad, deep, melancholic, but also faithful, bold, and like our first record was called "If Two Worlds Kiss." Our first hit was "Walking on Both Sides." Yeah, we always had songs which were a song like a punk rock song called "Missing You," which is a sad slogan, but it's being shouted, "I'm missing you," like being, "I'm angry because I'm missing you." Yes, there was always some power in it, or some, and that's where we feel good, you know, finding your way within good and bad.
Yeah, hope, I think, is the
I
thing.
think so.
Hope is the thing.
Or having faith, or just make the best, you know, make something with it.
No, absolutely.
Don't moan, don't argue, just get going, do something, make it better. And so the slogan for the album is really just make this world a little bit better every day, just within your possibilities, right? Because that makes life so much more worth living.
I think loads of people will want to hear this now.
Mm.
Where are we in terms of releases? Is the single released there?
Yeah, so we have got 3 singles released now. There's a 4th single coming on September 3rd.
Yep.
And the official release of the album is planned for September 24.
Great date to release an album, just before my birthday.
Good. So it's 10 songs, and it's about half of them are kind of this kind of mixture between sadness and hope and doubts and fighting for whatever you want to fight for. And the other half is kind of love songs, but at the same time, again, 2 songs are called Never Give Up. Just Never Give Up. One is more like a love song, I Will Never Give Up, and the other is more like about my other half, Just Don't Give Up.
Please put up with me. What's the alternative title? Oh, that's tremendous. Where can people get hold of your music?
Basically, it's on most of the people listen to our music on all the streaming and downloaded platforms nowadays. It's really Spotify, it's iTunes, it's.
Are you physically releasing it as well?
Yes, it's always available as vinyl LP and CDs. The vinyl LP will only be available at pinktossblue.com.
There you go. So you've heard it first. If you want to, we'll make sure that the link gets put in.
Edition, and it's strictly limited, and it's really for our fans, and they wanted it, and we already sold half of the limited edition.
Well, there you go. So if you're listening today and you want a copy, you better get in quick.
Yeah,
that's it. Mick, it's been absolutely wonderful speaking to you this afternoon. Thank you for opening up your life in music and talking to me about where it all came from or comes from. I hope it's been a pleasure for you as well, and I hope to speak to you sometime soon in the future. But thank you for joining me and talking us through Pink Turns Blue.
You're welcome, Graham, and all your listeners. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.